Allow me to take you back to a simpler time, when games didn't care for damage numbers, before parry slop became the norm, before even viewpoints destroyed open worlds. We had one precious novelty any game could use, in almost any context, and oh,
It was beautiful.
it was simple. All you had to do was press one button. But then, everything changed in
when
Fire Nation. Okay, no, I've made far too many references. This is not a funny bit. This bit has gone on far too long. I haven't had a single funny line.
So I'm stopping you.
Quicktime events. These are Quicktime events, for example, if you didn't know, were an industry standard for a long while in the early 2000s, but have been around for much longer than that. Take Dragon's Lair, for example. Probably the first example of QTEs in a game. Okay, no, I checked. It's actually, Wild Gunman, which...
It is Wild Gunman.
How do you play this thing?
I'll show you, kid. I'm a crack shot at this.
I think it's appropriate that people's main criticism of QuickTime events is that it's like playing a movie, when, yeah, that's basically where they originate. Remember Night Trap? Hell, even remember live action footage in games? Good times. QTEs were both coined and properly introduced to the broader gaming landscape through Shenmue, but unlike these other games accused of being playable movies, Shenmue is actually one of the most lauded and, like, praised games of all time, and that new game that Jeff announced looks sick, and Yakuza is still loved, so, like, maybe it's immune to such criticisms. But instead of harping on Shenmue for starting the trend, people targeted games like Heavy Rain, like The Walking Dead, which were criticized to hell and back for their action revolving around QTEs, with the rest of the gameplay being of a point-and-click structure. These criticisms always rub me the wrong way, though. It's as if the general public doesn't view point-and-click adventures as real games. See, but then we start getting into the cutscene games can of worms, where people hate on Sony originals and PlayStation exclusives for having a lot of cutscenes, and the only response to that is, do you just hate art? Anyway, I think that's a massive shame, but I also can't help but feel that a lot of this criticism just comes from burnout. Back in the day, Telltale was pumping out games after game after game after game, bigger and bigger IPs, and just those of us who stuck with them probably did feel the pain of the gameplay monotony. I confess I did. The Walking Dead Season 4 started the process of alleviating these issues somewhat, but we all know how that went. So, when the biggest and only franchise that still champions QTEs dies, where do you really go from there? Okay. Let's back up for a second, though. Let's talk about, every other kind of game. You see, when QTEs began to be incorporated across the broader action-adventure genre, they were kind of treated as the pinnacle of gameplay. Games like... Games like the OG God of War trilogy or Asura's Wrath practically clip farms for hype moments and aura. But as awesome as this is to look at, this is also where developers began to misuse QTEs. I will always be a stark defender of boss fights that end in QuickTime events, but I also can't pretend that they themselves are the most engaging gameplay. It feels more like the cherry on top for beating a hard boss. And for a long time, that's what it primarily was, but the intentionality of QTEs seems to be lost on AAA studios. Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor is a cash grab game. I love this game to hell and back, don't get me wrong, but this was just Warner Bros. Cashing on Arkham hype with one of their biggest IPs. And much like many adaptations of Tolkien's works, its creators didn't really get why the original worked in the first place. Tolkien rant aside, the only thing in this game that works thematically is the Nemesis system, with everything else almost haphazardly slapped on based on the trends of the day. Shadow of Mordor might be the worst action-adventure QTE offender, reducing potentially mechanically interesting gameplay with just Telltale-style QTEs. This culminates in the worst boss fight, maybe ever. The final boss, in fact, who is literally just some QuickTime event, and then the game is over. If we accept that games like Dragon's Lair or Shenmue are QuickTime events in their purest form, then what made these games work? Those games are often boiled down to just interactive movies, which is extremely disrespectful to what QTEs used to, represent, I guess. Hear me out. When QuickTime events are just added as a way to make sure you press buttons during a cutscene, they're inherently mechanically shallow.
I'm going to die!
They can, however, be funny as hell, like the iconic Abandon Your Daughter QTE. The difference between these QTEs and the ones in Shenmue is literally just intent. Think about it. Shenmue's gameplay being almost entirely QTEs was almost revolutionary for the time, but was also needed as a way of keeping the players on their toes during the many Dialogue scenes. The importance of these QTEs was that they had branching paths, creating actual gameplay reasons to engage in the cutscenes. The legacy of this design philosophy can be best seen in games like Heavy Rain or Until Dawn, where failing even one QTE can result in an entirely different branch, or even a character death. These super intense, playable movies actually have stakes and consequences for being bad at QTEs, and while they might not be the most mechanically deep or require an insane amount of button discipline, they do objectively better serve the art that they are a part of. When Telltale went under and the Dark Pictures games arguably ended up as just friend slop, I was kind of worried that the years of gamers bashing QTEs had just won. But no, the developers today fucking rock, and I'm especially pleased to see that Dispatch has included QTEs into his gameplay. Unfortunately, the QTEs don't carry as much consequence in Dispatch, but I won't hold it against them. The first season kind of felt like a pilot, and I trust that they will expand on those mechanics in the future. What I do want to praise, though, is the Quicktime events themselves. I went into Dispatch thinking that it would play like Wolf Among Us fights, but to my surprise, these QTEs are actually hard. They found a new fun interaction with the R2 slide mechanic, and I love how unapologetic the placement of them is. I might be weird, but this is low-key one of my favorite shots in the game. So then how might QTEs fit into action games? Like I said before, traditionally QTEs act as more of an interactive cutscene in action games, but what if I told you that there was a much better, more elegant solution? You see, in I'll save that for later. But first, let's talk about Kingdom Hearts 2 and reaction commands. A system so good that people bullied the devs into completely abandoning the system in Kingdom Hearts 3's base game. Reaction commands were hated for all the listed reasons, just boiling combat down to mashing triangle. But once again, I'm not sure that those people played the game. Reaction commands are just pressing triangle, that's no secret. Kingdom Hearts is a button mash fest, but what makes reaction commands so interesting is how contextual they are. Not every reaction command is beneficial. Many are used as ways to turn enemies into big damage, sure, but many others reposition, guard, or whatever this is. There's a level of challenge here too, having to learn both enemy types and enemy animations to know how and when to trigger each command. Berserkers may seem poorly designed, and they are, but through understanding their temper tantrum, one gains a new level of serenity. Like with many Kingdom Hearts things, reaction commands shine best in the boss fights. Take, for example, good old Marluxia here, who will absolutely wreck your shit with his massive area attack on first attempt, but learning to avoid it reveals a reaction command, allowing Sora to mess him up and reset the boss mechanic. And guess what? That's not even the only one in this fight. Some people might not call this a QTE because it's during gameplay. And to that I say, is this a QTE? Is this not a QTE? Is this a QTE? Like, come on, is this a QTE? Contextual button prompt equals QTE not. It's part of the same in-game system, so just go with it. Here's my favorite one. During the Xemnas fight, he'll TP to the tower and you need to go engage him, and you'll see his sick-ass Riku impression. What I'm pretty sure is that most people don't realize you're supposed to wait for the right time to press the button. Most reaction commands in the cutscenes do just boil down to press triangle to win, as most action games do, but here the game punishes ignorance and forces you to time your strike correctly. God, it's so good. Now with Clair Obscur, anyone who's seen a lick of gameplay knows that it's a turn-based RPG with parrying, meaning it's approachable to the normie. Gotta have my parry slop. While not revolutionary, the Quicktime events found in each of Clair Obscur's skill attacks are a fantastic layer of the gameplay, rewarding perfect timing, which seems easy at first, but for more powerful skills can get fast or weird enough to plausibly fail, leading to a risk-reward factor. Okay, now I'm just saying buzzwords. Unfortunately, some games take the wrong approach, like FF16, which have also boiled back down to press the button at the time, and press the button when it's on the screen. So maybe QTEs will actually never die, and I was worried for nothing. What I'm trying to say is Quicktime events are not the devil as they would have you believe. QTEs, and frankly many more kinds of gameplay, deserve more respect across the medium. All of that is to say, I am very happy reaction commands are in KH4, and Clair Obscur, and Dispatch, and that's about it. Peace! Thanks for watching. This video, I had a lot of fun editing this one, I'm not gonna lie, but I kind of did it as a supplementary piece, just the thing that has been distracting, or was distracting me for about a month. Hopefully you'll see what that is in the next video, but I don't think you guys care about the Hobbit movies like that. So here's your Tobyisms. Make sure you like and subscribe and do all those things if you enjoyed. Even if you didn't enjoy it, you should do that. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.